A few days ago, a friend of mine asked me if it is possible to invest in Forex without actually trading. So I decided to make this video to answer to that question and the same question that you might have. Hey everyone, my name is David. For those of you who don't know me, I've been trading since 2006, and in this channel I talk about trading and especially everything around Forex trading. There are actually several ways in Forex trading that you can invest in Forex without trading. One of them is, for example, copy trading. Another one is buying and using signals. But for applying those methods, you need to have some level of knowledge about Forex, about trading. You need to know how to put orders, for example. You need to know how you can, for example, use trading platforms and stuff like that. But what if you don't want to involve in those kinds of activities at all? You don't want to involve in trading whatsoever. Is there a way for you to invest in Forex without lifting a finger, for example? There is a method of investing in Forex called PAMM accounts. What is a PAMM account? PAMM accounts has a kind of account that there are three parties involved. One of them actually is trader or a manager. Another one is a broker. Obviously, we need to have a broker. And the third one is an investor. An investor is a person actually who invests in a manager. And the broker is a company that's manage all those trading activities and connect these two parties, managers and obviously investors. But you might ask me how you can invest in something that you don't know anything about. Well, there are some people that just, for example, hear about PAMM accounts. They go to the broker, register a PAMM account and look at the results of the managers. They see, okay, that person has a good results. They bring a lot of profits. They've made a lot of profit. So I'm going to invest in those kinds of traders. That's the wrong way to invest in a PAMM account. You are going to burn your money, you are going to burn your time, and it's not the suitable way to invest in a PAMM account. So how you can invest in a PAMM account profitably? It's very important you know some factors that help you to invest in a PAMM account profitably. You might not know anything about trading or Forex trading or anything around Forex, but you have to be a good investor if you want to invest in PAMM accounts. You need to learn some level of knowledge about investing in those PAMM accounts. That way you increase your chance of being profitable in the long term. We're not talking about short term, we're not talking about making money overnight. We are talking about a long-term profit. So let's go to my computer so that I can show you how you can boost your chance of being profitable and how you can invest in those kinds of PAMM accounts with some level of knowledge. Before we go further, let's take a look at these disclosures and risk warning about this video. Please note that foreign exchange and other leverage trading involves significant risk of loss. It's not suitable for all investors and you should make sure you understand the risk involved. Educate yourself on the risks associated with foreign exchange and CFD trading and seek advice from an independent financial or tax advisors if you have any questions. Any data and information are provided here as is solely for informational purposes and are not intended for trading purposes or advice or something like investment advice. Past performance is not indicative of future results. I have a blog post on my website where I wrote about factors that you can look into when you want to find and invest in a PAMM accounts. Let's see what factors, what metrics we need to consider when we want to invest in a PAMM accounts. Before we get to learning those factors and learn how to analyze that, how to read that, we have to know something else. There are, as we know, there are brokers that offer PAMM service. In the PAMM service of these kinds of brokers, you see something like this. It is hot Forex. For example, you have rating, we have a table that lots of PAMM accounts are here, and there are some factors here, there are some headings here that you can see. One of them is rankings, obviously, and the PAMM accounts, name of the PAMM accounts or PAMM managers or strategies. And this is the graph that you can see here. Days open, this is the age of the account that we are going to deal with later in this video. Minimum deposit and minimum top up, gain last month, gain of last month, and max drawdown, and all these factors we have to know. For example, let's take a look at another broker. This broker is Alpari. You can see some table like that where you can see accounts with ratings and age of account, investors, the amount of investors, equity and graph and things like that. So any broker that offers PAMM service has something like that, the table with lots of things, and we also can change these metrics based on the factors that we need, that we are going to talk about. Most of the people who want to invest in PAMM accounts don't know much about these kinds of investments. They've heard something about PAMM accounts and say, okay, that's a good idea to invest in Forex without trading and something like that. Then they go to the broker service, something like this table of ratings, and they see, okay, this person has a good rating, this is number one, and it has a good return. Let's see, wow, 10,000% return. That's a good. Look at the graph. This is the return. Look at the second one. This is the graph. This is a rising graph like this with 101% return, something like that. This is absurd. And look at the age of the first one, 1 month. In 1 month the person has gained something like 10,000%. This is something that you this is ridiculous. Okay, most people go to the broker and see something like this and invest in that manager or that strategy, which is completely wrong. They don't know how to analyze the result of that person. They just and after a while, maybe 1 day, maybe 10 days, or maybe 1 month, they burn their investment because that person is trading aggressively. Those kinds of people, I mean, they keep their trades open for a long time. They don't close their losing positions, losing trades. So you see graph like this, rising graph like this, and this is a very dangerous account to invest in. So in this video we are going to see why this is dangerous and things like that. When you click on one of these PAMM accounts, you will be directed to the PAMM results of the broker. Let's see the PAMM results of this account. First of all, you see the name of the person, the account, and some summaries about this account. Alpari has a system of risk level that you can see here. You can actually, this is a good metric that you can see if there are lots of, for example, these red whatever symbol they are. You can see this kind of strategy is too risky. You can see lots of red 5, and when you, for example, click on this help, you can see some summary of why this strategy is a dangerous one. But we are not going to take a look at these things. We are going to analyze, going to do our test and analysis. So when you see when you click on the name of the PAM accounts, you see something like that, and in a trading mode you have more information, the information that we need for analyzing the PAM account. Look at this information and like indicators, maximum profit, maximum drawdown. We are going to talk about these kinds of factors. You can see something like that in hot Forex as well, or any other brokers that have PAM service. Not all of them give you these kinds of stats. Some of them don't offer any stats. Some of them say, okay, this is a good one, this is the best PAM accounts, this is the best managers that we have, and something like that. We don't look into those brokers. We are not looking for those kinds of brokers. We need stats, we need information so that we can analyze and test the strategy and PAM account we are going to invest in. And this is the hot Forex. It's a little bit different than Alpari, but they have all the metrics that we need, like with let's see here, like maximum drawdown, profit factor is one of the things that we need, and here is max drawdown and things like that. So we are going to invest in PAM accounts based on these factors. By the way, if you want to read all these things that we are going to talk about and more, you can go to this to my website, to this blog post, and I'll put the link in the description below. Okay, let's see what factors we need to look at and look into for analyzing PAM account and manager strategy. The things, the factors and the metrics that we need to look into is obviously profit percentage. We want to see if the strategy is profitable, and the next one is account age and number of trades that we are going to talk about. Max drawdown is the next one, profit factor, recovery factor, unrealized gain and loss. And these are the factors that we are going to talk about now. The first factor is the first metric is profit percentage. Let's see what it is. Obviously, this is the first metric that you should look at for choosing a PAM account before everything else, because no one invests in a losing PAM manager or a trading strategy. This doesn't give you any important information other than the above reason, but this is the first thing you need to look at. So when you go to for example hot Forex, the first thing that you look at is gain. You want to see if this PAM manager and PAM account is profitable, and you can see here, for example, if this number is negative, obviously the PAM account is losing money, and if this is positive like here, the PAM account is profitable. And let's take a look at, for example, another one. You can see that by looking at the graph of the manager as well. You can see the profitability of this manager or PAM account. Okay, let's get back to our metrics. The next one is account age and number of trades. In order to have more reliable data, PAM accounts should be old enough and at the same time have enough trades. There is no actually a unique number for the age and trades, and the general one is the more the better. However, I look for the PAM accounts with more than 6 months old and at least 300 closed trades. Almost all brokers have a filter, as we saw that, have a filter to set the PAM accounts based on that. Let's take a look at here, age. We can set, for example, more than 6 months, and we have the PAM accounts and managers more than 6 months, 5 years, 6 months, and 20 days, 3 years, and things like that. So the first filter that we use here is age. The next metric that we have to look at is max drawdown. What is drawdown in general. Drawdown is one of the factors that shows the how risky a trading strategy is. It shows the decrease in your account before it gets back to the highest point it was before. For example, you have a $100 account. Then you trade and lose $10. In this case, you've lost 10% of your account. So your drawdown is 10%. So you've lost 10% of your account. Your drawdown is 10%. Let's take a look at this picture that it's a so-called funny picture showing a max drawdown. Okay, in a graph, let's assume that this is a balance or equity of an account, a PAMM account. In a graph, you see something like this, and these values. These values are drawdowns, and the maximum, the biggest one, the largest one is max drawdown. So the max drawdown in a graph, in a balance or equity graph of a PAMM account is drawdown. Let's take a look at, for example, the graph of this PAMM account. Where is that? Return. These actually this is the profit one. What doesn't matter. These kinds of things, we call them drawdowns, and I think the maximum one is this one. This one is the max drawdown. So we don't need to go to technicality and stuff like that. We just want the number. The number that we consider for our drawdown is 30%. We are looking for the PAMM accounts that have less than 30% maximum drawdown, and we can set our filters. Let's say, where is that? Let's find it first here. Max drawdown. This is the max drawdown. We set it like 25% or 30%. 30%, less than 30%. So when we set that table, when we set this table of ratings according to that metrics, yes, we've set that. We have now we have the PAMM accounts and managers that have drawdowns, max drawdowns less than 30%. Okay, it's a little different in Alpari. We need to set the max drawdown here. We go to PAMM account performance, trading performance indicators. We have to find the max drawdowns. We don't need week, 1 month, 3 months, and all this, and we need just all time max drawdown. So we've set that and click show, and now we can set our drawdowns based on the number, which is less than 30%. We don't have here 30%, so we just choose 25 and then 30%. Okay, so we've already eliminated a lot of PAMM accounts from our choices. We have now the PAMM accounts that are older than 6 months with the drawdown of less than 30%. So let's take a look at other metrics. Before talking about other metrics, let's see why max drawdown is important. It's important because when you lose 10% of your account, you have to gain 11.11% to get to break-even, to get to the place where you started. When you lose 20%, you have to gain 25%, and when you lose 90% of your account, you have to gain 900% of your account. That's why this max drawdown is important, and it's very simple. You have $1,000. Let's assume you have $1,000. You lose 10%, which is $100. Now you have $900 as your capital, and $100 loss. Okay, in order to regain that $100 loss, you need to make a profit of 11 point, as you saw that 11.11%. In other words, 11.11% of $900 is $100, or it's 99.99 to be exact. That's why when you lose more money before you gain that money, it's very hard to gain that money. Let's say you lose 50% of your account, you have to gain 100% in order to get to the point where you started. That's why we look into we look at max drawdown. Profit factor is the next metric that we need to look at. And what is the profit factor? Profit factor is another analytical factor that you can find in the statistics of PAMM accounts and show the profitability of a trading strategy. If a broker doesn't show this factor in its statistics, you can easily calculate that by this formula. Profit factor equals to gross profit by gross loss. Gross profit and gross loss are the parameters that you can find in the statistics of a PAMM account. However, some brokers don't provide those parameters, so we need to look at other factors in their statistics. For example, Hot Forex has this factor, profit factor, but Alpari doesn't have that and doesn't have gross profit and gross loss as well, so we can't calculate that profit factor for our systems. But there are lots of other things, other factors and metrics, analytical metrics that Alpari has, so we can look at those factors. As I said, you can find the profit factor here for Hot Forex. In Hot Forex we have profit factor, but in Alpari we don't have profit factor or gross loss or gross loss or gross wins. So we need to find we need to look at other factors. In Alpari there is help in front of each metrics that you can read and get a grasp of what the metrics all about, but actually you don't need to know all of these things because we are dealing with the most important factors in this video. So you just need to look at those metrics. Any profit factor larger than 1 shows that a strategy is profitable. It simply means the amount of your profit is bigger than the amount of your loss, so your trading strategy is profitable. I personally prefer the PAMM managers that have a strategy with a profit factor of 1.5 or higher. Some people may say 1.6 or 1.7 or 1.4, things like that, but I think 1.5 is a decent number. The higher the better, or the higher the less risky. The next metric that I look at is recovery factor. Recovery factor shows how well a trading strategy can overcome a drawdown. When I look for a PAMM account, I prefer a recovery factor larger than 1.6. Some PAMM accounts don't offer this parameter, but you can calculate it yourself using two parameters: profit ratio and max drawdown. And you can find the formula here if you want to calculate that. You don't need this one actually, but if you're looking at a Forex broker or PAMM service of a Forex broker, stats of a PAMM account, that you want to know the recovery factor, and the broker doesn't offer this metric, you can use the information here so that you can calculate recovery factor for the strategy. But for now, if you see profit factor, recovery factor, it should be something like 1.6 or higher. Unrealized gain or loss is the next metric that we need to look at. What is it? This is a very important parameter to look at when checking the statistics of a PAMM manager's account. Why? Let's find out. It's basically shows the floating loss or profits of an account, the profits and losses of trades that are not closed yet, so they are not included in the final results, such as profit percentage or drawdown. Imagine a PAMM account starts with a $2,000 investment and its statistics shows a $2,000 profit. That's interesting. A 100% return. Actually, not necessarily. You look at its floating or unrealized gain loss and you see it shows minus $3,500, which $3,500, which actually comes from the trades that the PAMM manager hasn't closed yet, and they are deeply in the red. Some brokers don't show that, but they have current drawdown instead. That basically shows how deeply an account is suffering loss. In the above example, the account has 87.5% current drawdown. In other words, the manager has lost $3,500 of $4,000 so far, which becomes 87.5%. This PAMM account from Hot Forex Brokers. Okay, let's take a look at that. Okay, let's take a look at an example. We have a very nice rising profitable graph here. Actually, when you see something like this, a graph without any loss, it's very dangerous, because the person because actually in Forex or in any kind of trading, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And when someone is showing you a graph like this or a result like this, that he claims that he doesn't lose anything, he doesn't lose money at all, he's winning all the time, that's something that he's hiding. Let's take a look at how can we figure that out. Okay, let's take a look at the result here. We see in the balance section that this person has something like $60,000 in his account. But let's take a look at floating profit and loss here. Around $27,000 of this amount is losses, because the person hasn't closed his trades. So around, if we consider that $60,000 and we consider this 27,000, let's say $30,000, around half of this amount, 50% of this amount or this balance is in loss. His account is suffering $30,000 in loss. So actually his current drawdown is 50%. So he's not as profitable as he claims. He's losing money, but he hasn't closed some trades, so he's showing to the investors that it's so profitable. You have to avoid these kinds of scams or these kinds of traders. So basically those are the factors that we look at when we want to choose a PAMM account, we want to invest in a PAMM account. We need to look at those things. And now let's summarize what we've learned so far. Basically, I should look for a PAMM account that has more than 6 months old with at least 300 trades. It should have a drawdown of 30% at the most, a profit factor of 1.5 at the least. Recovery factor should be at least 1.6, however the higher the better. And the current drawdown or unrealized loss should be under 30%, just like max drawdown. Okay, when you filter PAMM managers based on those factors, you can see that from thousands of accounts there are a few of them that check all these boxes. Actually, you can't find a lot of PAMM managers or PAMM accounts that check all these boxes. Even with taking all these measurements, there is no guarantee that the PAMM managers you choose bring you profits 100% of the time, because past performance is not indicative of future results. But we can do one more thing. Actually, we can do one more thing to increase our chances. What is that? And making a PAMM portfolio. What is in PAMM portfolio? You've probably heard this maxim that goes, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You probably heard that. But if you haven't heard it, it means that don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay, and for increasing our chance of having a profitable investment in PAMM accounts, we should follow that model as best as possible. Instead of, what does it mean? Instead of investing only in one PAMM account, we should find and choose some of the best PAMM managers according to what we've talked, what we've learned so far, and allocate a portion of our investment to each of them. We don't want to invest in 1%. If the person blows up our account, we lose our money. We divide our investments to some parts so we increase our chance of being profitable. So now let's take a look at an example. For having a reliable portfolio, you'd bear a lot larger portions to the PAMM managers with a lower risk system, which basically means lower drawdown or higher recovery factor. Let's imagine this scenario. Manager number 1 drawdown 50%, recovery factor 2. Manager 2 drawdown 22%, recovery factor 2, and manager 3 drawdown 30%, recovery factor 2.1. We want to divide our capital between them. They all seem to have good strategies regarding just these two factors. I mean drawdown and recovery factor. So we look at other factors, and if everything else seems fine, we'd better take something like this following approach. If you want to invest $1,000, it's better to give $450 to manager 1, $350 to manager 2, and $200 to manager 1. This is the way that we divide our capital between some managers, so we increase the profitability of our portfolio. Okay guys, now you know how to invest in Forex without trading, what a PAMM account is, what to look for in a PAMM account, and how to choose a PAMM manager that brings you profits with a high probability. I personally look for the best PAMM managers using the methods we've talked about. No wonder I didn't find many. You can find and know them on this article and see how you can invest in them if you want. Okay guys, what do you think about PAMM accounts? Do you think after this video you can invest in Forex profitably? I want to know about your thoughts on this subject, so write them in the comment section under this video. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. And of course, like this video if you found it useful.